Hello, this is Educational Tidbits 26 through 30, and I will be focusing on 3D printing for these 5 tidbits. The funny thing is, I've never done 3D printing until about a week ago when my EDTL 6120 class did some 3D printing at BGSU. This got me thinking about using 3D printing in my own classroom and the benefits of it, so I decided to research it for these tidbits. The first article I absolutely love. What the heck is all this whoop-dee-dee with 3D printing? And it was just published here in 2016. And so this author does a great job of discussing her journey through 3D printing in the classroom, and that she was totally against it, never used it before. As she here says, I have, 3 years later, she's using it. She loves 3D printing, and so I just like reading her blog and story of going through the struggles of learning how to do 3D printing and then implementing it in her classroom. One thing that she did at the beginning is she allowed the students to go through the tutorials with her. So instead of her trying to conquer 3D printing on her own, she said, let's make this a community thing, let's have the students learn it with me, and I think that's a really good idea if you're implementing 3D printing for the first time. I like her bullet points here of why I'm a 3D convert. She says there are some students who use their imagination to construct words that build meaning, much like the filaments of a 3D printer might build items. Then there's some students who need to see the tools in action and need to touch something, see something, experience something in order to trigger their language. And that's going to be a theme through all of these 3D printing articles, is it makes real life learning. The students can physically touch, manipulate, move, whatever they're printing, and that's going to improve their learning, especially with 3D printing, more so than just seeing an image on the screen, and it's 3D. I like her bullet points here too of some reasons that it's effective, helps reach students that felt disconnected in school, where ed tech or industrial tech classes might not exist. Creates variety for students to use robotics, think differently, and critical thinking. You really have to use your critical thinking skills when you're using a 3D printer. She does put a little caveat here that there still has a way to go. 3D printers are still kind of expensive, and a lot of districts can't pay for them or pay someone to be educated on how to use them. So she does put that little caveat in there, but overall a great read. My second tidbit is why 3D printing needs to take off in schools around the world. And this article talks about basically how you can use it in your classroom, and it talks about the physical aspects. So here is 3D printing in math, of seeing my mathematical concepts of like those 2 examples, or even as simple as like the Pythagorean theorem of physically touching it. That's going to help students, especially also if you're using volume or perimeter. Those things with physical shapes can help students learn. I like this one, printing of geography and geology. Being a history teacher, I love this, that you could do a topography map, and the students could really feel the different elevations of the land through 3D printing. Or in this instance, a 3D printing of an earthquake data, or 3D printing of a geological site. Basically, again, bring learning to life. Alive. They do talk about here about printing in history, and I think this would be amazing to reprint historical things, because as it says here, in a museum you can look but not touch. Well, touching is learning, and you want to be able to do that, and so through a 3D printer we can print something out and you can physically touch it. And then they did this one with 3D printing in art. You could create an art project, this baffled me a little bit, but create an art project in India and in New York, and then they work on it together, and both of them print it on the 3D printer, and so they both create the same art project same time and can both touch it. Craziness, but it can be done through 3D printing. And so this whole article, I really like how it's tangible in the classroom, real life things that you can use 3D printing for. This next one is 3D printers add a new dimension to the classroom, and like I said, they make real life learning, they can make things tangible. This article focuses on more of the CAD or computer assisted design software, so more of the technology or engineering part. This teacher who helped with this article, or a journalist, basically we're saying that by using 3D printers, it's making students interested in engineering at the collegiate level and helping high school students developing those programs in CAD and in, writing software to make 3D items. And so real-world solutions of problem solving. So they said if there was a material that they're trying to improve or a part that they're missing, the students have to think about, as an engineer, how to fix this problem and how to make a 3D manipulative to fix maybe, it says here, a steel part on a different model. And so the real-world sense there. Business sense, of course, if you have knowledge and can do 3D printing, it's going to help you in the business field, but also help you get jobs, and technology is the centerpiece, and we know that businesses are going to be using 3D printing for a few more years or years to come. And then this one says all ages show. So I never heard of this one before, but I guess for younger students they have this thing called Tinkercad, which they can, really younger students, elementary students, same as SketchUp or CAD, it's Tinkercad. So I haven't used it yet, but I think that would be interesting for elementary students to learn about engineering and the process of 3D coding with these machines. My next tidbit I think is very interesting, of using Minecraft, which I've been hearing a lot about this semester, especially thanks Mark for the Minecraft knowledge. But this is also using to improve common core skills in geography. Now I'm just going to play a little bit of this video, but this uses basically Printcraft, where I could create something in Minecraft. I could create a building in Minecraft or a shape that's mathematically sound in Minecraft, and then I can send it over to my 3D printer and print it and then touch it tangibly. Oh my goodness, why did we not think of this before, of combining these two? So I'm just going to play a little bit here. So if I created a structure, and they're just creating basically a 3D box here, then the students can use Minecraft with all the wonderful mathematical properties, and then they can use basically Printcraft and go through and print an actual object, and then make it tangible. So let's see if we can get a picture of the actual object here. This is just showing, there's the actual object. So I then just created that, and mathematically I can see it on my graph paper, and maybe it was in Minecraft, and it just connects everything through mathematical learning. And I love this part of 3D printing by Pathfinder learning of this video. And this is just a short 3-minute video, but it does a good overview of how to do that. The last one I think is interesting because it's, touched it. Because I think this is an interesting read, but then it also, I found out later that it is put on by a 3D printer company. So this talks about this teacher, Philip Howardwell, and how he used the same engineering of implementing it with his students. And one of his first projects he did was to design and build a toy train, and followed precise engineering plans. I'm learning more that 3D printing is kind of focused in engineering. It can be used in other areas, but this article definitely talks about it as engineering. After he makes them have a 3D train, the next project he does is to design more of a building or a model of a more intense part of a 3D printing experience. And again, it's all focused on the engineering. As I said though, this article, I thought it was really interesting, and then I saw this strays away, or however you want to say it, publishing right there. A lot of the articles when I was looking up 3D printing are all done by 3D printing companies, and I think that's a little problem.